Even with standards still being debated and ratified, 5G equipment is already getting out onto the market. Jane, from Nokia's perspective, what are you seeing from your telco customers? What is the demand for 5G equipment at the moment?
So there's two big places where things are happening really fast. So of course we have a lot of things that are happening in the US. Just the last week, how far have we gone with taking the standards as they are today and getting them really into the field of moving out of the labs and testing equipment, making sure. Of course, a lot of that is still for the radio side, and we have to remember that 5G is an end-to-end part.
Indeed.
So I would say that from the 5G radio side, lots of things happening in the US at the moment, lots of things happening in China. So we just this week actually came out also said, okay, but where are we with connecting 5G and 4G as a dual connectivity play with real equipment in the back? So we're moving very fast on when we define 5G as being connected also from a radio perspective. Having said that, I would say a lot of the 5G discussions we have already with our customers, apart from the radio and deploying these things, is how do we evolve the network? What do we look at from a transport side? What are the needs that we need to have when it is that we assume we're going to get a lot more data through the network? So a lot of the rest of the network is actually an evolution and planning design at the moment, saying how do we get to where we need to be later on.
So this concept of being 5G ready, equipment being ready for 5G is critical now.
Absolutely, we need to make sure that we understand what we can do with the equipment today, where can we do software parts, but we also have to understand that 5G is different. If I want to say that I can do, I could tell you that I'm 5G ready on a lower frequency band, and reality is that is it 5G if you only got 10 megahertz as a spectrum to play with, because then I can also do a lot with LTE. So we also have to watch out that we don't overhype a lot of these things, but it is very, very critical that we look ahead and saying, from an architecture point of view in the network, how do I evolve from where I am today? Where do I make investments that make sense along the way, in all aspects of the network? And of course now, hopefully later, as we hear about the standards, where are we also with 5G core? Because that's the next part of saying, how do we connect the back part? Have we agreed on how we do that and actually get the parts where we get to a standalone core network as well?
We're seeing a lot more interest in open source, whether that's software or hardware, and also the open culture and ways of working and developing. Do you think that we're seeing this great speed of innovation at the moment with 5G? Do we need to embrace that sort of developer side, iterative approach more?
We need to. If we want to get to the part where we, as an industry, get the right time to market, that we're agile enough in doing, then at least from a Nokia perspective, open source and open communities are critical. I mean, for us, contributing and therefore be able to get some of the things back, saying how can we then use that? It doesn't mean that everything open source, because of course we need to make sure we verify. We still have some things that need to work in a little bit more close environment. And here I often go back to saying, how do we achieve these low latencies? If we're not locking things in tightly, we have a problem with open or with the low latency. But we cannot do without, whether the initiatives are XRAN, ORAN, ONAP, ONS, OCP, whatever we call them, right? Because all of these contribute to us as an industry being able to be agile and get the right time to market. Use the collaborative brain rather than thinking we can fix everything on our own.
Now, telcos always looking at their balance sheets and always looking at their investment and how long their equipment has to stay on the balance sheets. It's an expensive business. As we iterate faster and faster, do we need to have things more software updatable? Is software playing a much more important role?
Yes. Software, I mean, we truly need to be modular in many ways. So of course we cannot, whether we talk about the hardware being, commercial off the shelf is often the things used. How do we build data centers? How do we build data centers on the edge? And all of that is the discussion, but the parts and the software on top. And then we need to make sure that all of these pieces are modular. So for me, one of the key aspects that we have probably discussed less earlier is, are we architecture bound as a network? we have some standards, we have some boxes, how do we do this? But do we have a reference architecture that we can go back to? And from a Nokia perspective, I would say I'm very happy we got Nokia Bell Labs because they actually designed a Future X reference architecture that's an end-to-end network architecture that we then saying, okay, but how do we fit in to make sure that all our components gives us the agility? So as a Dane, I can refer to, I like that everything being Legos, right? We need to make sure that we have small components we can build everything with, rather than saying we build everything monolithic from the beginning. So this agility we need to build in the architecture, but we also need to do it in terms of hardware and software and the processes that goes with it.
Jane, great insights. Thanks a lot for joining us on TelecomTV.
You're welcome.